1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Plain.
All right, guys. Welcome to Let Her Finish. Thank you guys for tuning in. As you can see, we all have our cultural wear. I think given that we just celebrated St. Martin's Day, we thought it was really nice, or it would be a nice idea to at least, you know, dress up with cultural wear. And it's weird because for me, it was the first time that I am wearing cultural wear. I don't own anything, no cultural outfit. And initially I was like, okay, where do I even start to look for cultural outfits? So we have to thank Aishita for setting us up.
Yeah.
And I have some questions because I don't want another St. Martin's Day to come without I having a cultural outfit.
Exactly.
So where do we go? Who do we have to thank for this? And yeah, how can I get an outfit for next St. Martin's Day?
Well, we have what Sabrina Carty is wearing is from Nerissa de la Rosa.
Thank you.
Anissa's wearing an outfit, well, part of an outfit from Lydia Arnell. You are wearing one from Mohana Cesar. And I had mine's made. It's depicting the Unity flag, actually. And where do you get it? Actually, I had this one made. I just went online, looked for a particular design that I liked and asked the seamstress to make it. But there are several persons that sell culture wear, make culture wears, and any seamstress is able to whip up whatever you like. So you know that some of the ladies actually that you're wearing, they we had a Mother's Day festivity at the daycare, and the ladies went and got some cloth and whipped up something. This is what you're seeing, and I believe Lydia Ono is part of the Pre-St. Martin's Day cultural parade, which takes part every year. So this is now an invitation for all of us to take part.
I feel like you have a wardrobe full of cultural wear. You got separate closets.
Not really. Over the years, I've collected certain items because of my history in pageantry. And now that I am basically flag in honor of my grandmother, who was the flag lady of St. Martin. Now I take part in the cultural parade every year. So I'm building up my collection. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, because that's what I figured. I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't feel bad I don't have no culture because I never did any activities. You know, I think mostly like if you have an event to go to, then you would look for it, but I've never.
But you have an event. You have like the public parades.
But unless you want to participate,
But you mentioned online. So how you literally Googled someone online and you found like a seamstress online?
No, I Googled the design online, and I had a local seamstress make. She made it, whipped it up. From scratch, basically. I think it's amazing what the seamstress is able to replicate anything.
So I guess it's up to you how creative you want to be, because I remember I was in a pageant in New York and this guy Bevel, I don't know if you know, he's amazing. He did one side of the skirt was the sun, the other side was the sea. So it kind of was like sea, sun, sand. So it was like anything that you want to represent St. Martin you can put together.
Yeah, Bevel is known to have done, well, he was actually my chaperone way back when, and so I called him my second dad, and he had, I mean, at time he created an entire creative way out of plastic bags for me. So he is amazing. There are so many great and talented seamstresses and creative people on the island.
Okay, so goal is next year I have to own the cultural wear.
Absolutely, and
contact you so you could help me set it up.
No problem, and each of you going to participate. I wanted that. I wanted that on camera. Okay, that all ladies will take part in the cultural parade.
Well, now we have to.
Okay, good.
Make sure you're here.
But I know, like it was fun dressing up, and are you seeing
the head wrap?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So that brings us into another topic. Let's say, you know, let's talk about culture. More specifically, what culture means to you. I know maybe sometimes we feel like maybe we don't have a strong culture, but I tend, like when you travel, I feel like that's when you see what differentiates you from other people. And to me, that's clearly your culture. you know. So what does culture mean to you, Anissa?
Well, like you said, culture for me is the way how you differentiate. Because usually, first off, like when you're abroad, like I remember when I'm in school and people are like, you know, what's the cultural dish in St. Martin? What's the cultural wear? What's the cultural, what's the symbolic bird, flag? And for me, it was like, I always knew the basics, like food is like chicken, egg, and Johnny cake. But then I was friends with some Bahamians and people from Barbados, and they was like, oh, but we kind of have a version of Johnny cakes too, but they used to call it different. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is across the region, but I feel like because we have probably over 90-something different nationalities, we are a melting pot of different nationalities. And I mean, I think in a way it's nice because every nationality brings their own flavor to St. Martin.
Based on what you said, you know, you mentioned a lot of tangible things, but I feel like also in how we carry ourselves, our mannerism, and that already you can see that you're different, most likely, because I've been in university as well. I was in classes with a lot of different nationalities as well. People from Africa, people from Indonesia, and you kind of can tell that, you know, there are differences where I feel like, okay,
mannerism.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean,
so when I was thinking about this question about what culture means to me, first of all, I tried to find a definition that I could, you know, live with, that I agree with, and then I spoke to a mentor of mine, who I consider her a mentor, and I really look up to her, Dr. Rhoda Arundel, and she told me social scientists say that it's C equals N plus. So culture is nature plus. Think of it this way: you have like a banana, a mango, and nature produced that. And what you could do whatever you want with it. You can cook it, you boil it, fry it. So it's everything that we do with it. So everything that's added, taken away, that is our culture. And those things that we do not have anymore, which leaves, like sometimes I feel guilty, like there's something about our generation that we lose somebody, you know, they talk about it like we're so doomed. But in essence, culture is dynamic, it evolves, and what we do not use or what is not passed on to us, we no longer have. The traditions, the habits, the artifacts, the functionality is gone.
I do think it's important though that although it's changing, that we try to preserve it.
Absolutely. So then for me, what culture means to me is the word responsibility kept coming back to me. And that is then, what are you doing to make sure that your traditions that was once, that they still are, and that you pass it on?
Do you think we're doing enough in the educational system on St. Martin to preserve what was once, and for the younger kids growing up?
Let me answer that for you. I feel like as being part of the, maybe, I don't know how it is in different schools, but the school that I went to, I'm gonna say no, unless you were involved in like certain extra curriculum activities outside of school, then no. It was to the point where I think even in high school, they were talking about the part of slavery, which is a huge part of our history and who we are as an island. You could drop that subject. Like literally, I think they were offering it in, I think third form, and by that point I had dropped history. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not learning that part of
our history.
And kind of, I agree with you, and kind of in terms of culture, that it's certainly dynamic. I feel like there's always this debate of like that culture needs to change because times are changing, and certain things, I think we always go back to the Hollands or the Pete, but we're not going to get into that right now.
But we will get back to it.
Yes, we will get back to that.
Eventually, traditions need to change depending on, you know, where the origins are from.
Right.
For me, I always saw culture as a very fluid thing because I'm coming from a home where I'm experiencing multiple cultures. I have my both parents who are kind of like they're born and raised in Curacao. My mom has Portuguese and Spanish heritage, so I'm getting a little bit of that culture. But my dad's family is mostly from St. Martin, so I'm getting a bit of that culture. So I never really had a holistic thing of this is your culture and this is who you are. I had a kind of like pieces of it.
Right.
And to me, that's why I think that culture is fluid and dynamic in that sense.
I have an interesting question. Do you think that people who come to the island should pick up the culture of that place that they migrated to. So if there is a type of mannerism, assimilation, and as people, are we accepting, or how do we facilitate that assimilation? You know what I mean?
I feel like there's 3 ways you can do. You can come to an island. You can complain about it that you don't want to think. You can maybe conform to it.
Integrate.
Exactly. And I also think that you can try to understand it and try to put your bit.
Right.
So not just decide, I don't want to be part of it, but try to understand it and see how based on your background and stuff, how you can fit it into the culture that's there already. Because especially if you're coming to a country and you're gonna stay here and you're gonna live, when you plan to be there, at least for the time that you're there, at least try to understand and try to be part of their culture.
And I view St. Martin kind of as the third option, where we started to take in other people's culture and started to assimilate it to ours in a sense that we couldn't no longer indicate what was ours.
Our culture.
Like, I've never had a thing where I would go away and ask for Chinese food and be like, no, but I mean Antillean Chinese food, not this Chinese food.
Like, not a real Chinese food. We don't have that here in St. Martin.
That's true.
So I think we do a good job
So
of
we do the opposite.
We do the opposite. We say, you come here, we like this part, come. We're going to make something.
That goes back to the fact that, our foreparents didn't really pass it on. And why was that? Because we view ourselves, and we could trace it back to the big S word nobody really wants to talk about, but why don't we speak our dialect and proud? Because that's backwards, why? Our way of dressing. We don't dress like this anymore. Why? But we see certain African cultures where this is their daily wear. So how come we don't wear what was ours? Because we decided that what we had was inferior to other people who we were seeing. Or we trying to imitate other people. So this is then this is what answers the question.
Like the month of Carnival, like we should be portraying our culture, our cultural wear, and not take on what others have. I think it should be a mix of both, but we should somehow preserve the Panam dance, the cultural wear, where we came from, our ancestors, whatever that is. Have it incorporated in that month where we celebrate actually what is a combination of culture, tradition, and history.
Right. And there have been some voices in the community that says, let's have a cultural group, a traditional group. Those from Curacao come over, because if you notice, they have the carnival, but they also have something called Seu, which is the harvest season, and where they really celebrate that era. And I kind of see it happening around St. Martin's Day, where we try to come back. Mr. Yume Dumois is doing so much to bring back these type of things. This is why we have the cultural parade, and also around July 1st for Emancipation Day. I think if we focus a lot on those things, that even included in Carnival, it shouldn't. It should come back, but it's our responsibility to make sure that we are aware of what those traditions, artifacts, mannerisms were back then, so that we don't lose them. And even if it's once a year, celebrate them so it could be passed on. Because most of the things just lose their functionality. Dr. Arundel said to me, for example, a car. The car exists so long, but it loses functionality. So, but
because we keep reinventing it.
But it's still functional. The whole purpose of the car is still functional. But who wants to go back now to washing the clothes on one of those boards? Who wants to do that? No, we got a washing machine for that now, so it loses. So that relieved me from the guilt of feeling like, oh my goodness, something is lost. Yes, certain things are lost, but some things just lose their functionality. But that doesn't mean we don't have to know what they were. And that goes back to the education curriculum. You cannot tell me that there's no space in our education curriculum to celebrate our history, which goes back to the question that you asked about persons that are coming here. One of the ways, you don't have to accept our culture, even though culture is dynamic, and we will eventually do something. You will take something from us, we will take something from you, but it should be in the curriculum, and that's the first place they should learn it. And not first place, second, because home should be the place where you pass on these things.
I'm happy you say that, because let's say, for instance, I feel like the education part, that's really important. Why? Because let's say you have parents that are immigrants, they're not from here.
Yes.
They themselves don't know it, so what are they passing on?
Correct.
So the kids that are going to school, I feel like that's where they should pick up the slack, because in your household, then you're getting probably what your parents, you know, your parents' culture, and at school then you should be able to grasp the St. Martin culture.
Yeah,
you know,
I
the culture
think
that where you're living.
Yeah,
so
I think that's critical.
And going back to what you said, then we as people also need to look to our neighbors, whoever, to participate in some of these events, or actually encourage them to get involved. You know, Emancipation Day, St. Martin's Day. I remember there was a year where, like this year, nobody had flags on their car really, or flags. You know, I didn't feel the St. Martin's Day spirit, and at the end of the day, it is our personal responsibility to go out there. But I also feel like, you know, if we have institutions here on the island, we have government here on the island, you have a responsibility too to patronize St. Martin and come out and support. And November 11th is our St. Martin's Day. Why are we not out there?
And
Why?
carrying out the culture as well.
And carrying out the culture.
For instance, you know, just to say, like, let's say you go away and you, I don't know, like for instance in Holland, one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that, you know, you don't really say good morning, and or when you come into a building, that was really strange, right?
I know when somebody walking and you're watching them like
you know, like,
hello, we sleep together.
Yeah,
You're going to tell me something.
Exactly. So that was weird to me, and for me, I could go there and I could decide I want to adapt and do that as well. But then a part of me is like, no, like I feel like I still want to say, you know, good morning, or I still want to acknowledge it. So why should you change though?
Yeah, exactly. I definitely have
when
that.
I go to me very quickly, I was like, okay, no.
Me too. They drop the door on you. No.
Yeah, but no. Even if I go to the US, I would still say, you know, good morning when I go into places. I would say hi when you approach somebody. I would still do that, because just because I'm in the country doesn't mean I necessarily have to just take that over and just abandon.
I accept it.
Yeah. And just abandon that.
There's a lady who is actually like, she's from the Caribbean, a friend of my mom's, and she was in a meeting in the States, and she was in a meeting, Americans, I guess she was the only one with Caribbean roots, and she let out a long in the meeting. All of them turned to her and was like, what is this? And she had to like explain, no, sorry, it's just a cultural thing that we do here in the Caribbean.
It means I like you.
Yeah. But it's just funny, like you see, she took what was part of her, like there, even though
I like that. I feel like you don't always have to change. You don't always have to.
Yeah, definitely. And some things are just so with you. Like when it comes to hailing, I had a colleague from Holland, and you know, I kind of understand them in the sense that, you know, it's a rush, it's the city life, and their hello is something like a nod or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So she would tell me, you have to hail everybody. You're the welcome committee at St. Martin. You know, she would tell me that every time you have to hail everybody, you see? I'm like, that is just a part of
you walking down front, she's like,
yeah, right? And they kind of like grin at each other and keep it moving, because this is the fast-paced life. So it's good to understand, but I like who I am or who I was taught to be, and that is being very friendly. So no, but I also find that another aspect of our culture is talking the truth. You know, because, and that goes back to the discussion we're not going to talk about, the ZP discussion, but talking the truth about things, because you know, there are certain myths that are out there, and we need to, you know, because people still believe, you know, the reason we got French and Dutch is because the Frenchman and a Dutchman kind of walk around. Yeah, we gotta also, and it's the children talk say this with so much conviction. But is it the truth? People still believe Johnny Cake and, you know, what was our food, you know, our anthem? Is it really our anthem? We have to talk the truth. We have a responsibility to pass on correct information to our kids.
And you know, I read something interesting a couple months ago. It was I can't remember which country it is, but the government set up a committee, right? That it was a cultural committee to define the culture. They was like, you know what? We need to do this. Whatever you think it is, it doesn't matter. We are setting up a committee and we are establishing that this is what it is, and we will implement it in the school system.
And I know, was it in the Caribbean?
No, it wasn't. It was like I think.
I know a lot of countries.
Southeast Asia or something.
I actually know of South Korea at a certain point in South Korea, because I went there, and they said we're losing our culture. They were at a point where they said we're losing our culture. We're gonna go on this widespread education awareness, and they did something similar where we're gonna look back in history and we're gonna literally define our culture. I'm gonna say these are artifacts, these are and then they literally mass spread it
and
to
define the narrative.
The Koreans nowadays are very, very, I think, patriotic. Like
that's awesome.
And now you go to like their cultural places. Like when I went to go visit the palaces, there are like 20 shops where you can rent like cultural wear like this. Like you could buy it. You could like it's widespread, and it kind of reminds me of that where maybe we need. And it's kind of like the tourism kind of goes in hand with the culture.
Exactly. Because they want to come here and experience and know what the culture is.
It benefits like multiple aspects of the island.
And I think
but they're doing that. And UNESCO and the culture department and government, they have been doing the how you say, collecting the tangible and intangible heritage of St. Martin. I literally went to meetings where people like, okay, so what are some things you used to do? You know, they had something called, which I didn't know, was whaling. When someone in your district passed away, the women would go out and put out a wailing, so you would know something happened.
And they are documenting this.
They are documenting this stuff, and I think they recently released but from everybody. And you know, and the culture department now is, you know, we have a great department head, Miss Clara Ray. So she's also a champion in us preserving our culture, particularly putting the Punam dance. So you see some things that they are doing to preserve our culture. And there are sessions out there that you can take part in to help document our culture, that traditions.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the day where our heritage and our culture is embedded in a way that's sustainable. You know, if that is through education from young, you know, because I feel like we're losing patriotism here on the island. Like even if you're coming from abroad, like, you know, you are here living on St. Martin, we should be patriotic because, I mean, for me, I simply love this place. This is where I was born and raised, and
I feel like we're more patriotic when we go abroad.
Right. True. Good point.
Because you don't be like screaming it to us. St. Martin, I'm from St. Martin. Caribbean, you know? Oh, let me tell you. You know? Close to Anguilla. St. Martin. You know St. Martin, no? You know Puerto Rico?
Because then people like make you aware of, oh wow, the Caribbean. Oh wow. Like, and you're like, yes. And then you kind of remember, you know, we are really fortunate here.
Exactly. So I feel like you're more patriotic when you go abroad. Of course, we have a lot of immigrants and stuff. So how do we get somebody that came here already? They have all their beliefs, they have all their values, they have all of their culture from where they're coming from to embrace ours, especially if they're gonna have a child or they're gonna live here for the rest of their life, for instance. So how do you do that? They're not going to get it from the education system.
No.
So they have to willingly want something? Like, how do they do that?
Well, I think you don't give them a choice. No. You know what I mean? In the sense that, no, I'm not forcing anything on anybody, but if you love your culture, if you love where you're from, people will have no choice but it would brush off on them some kind of how. Yeah. But if you continue to make yourself small, to make other people feel better about themselves, and believe you me, there are cultures on this island, which I think is great, that they have special sessions like on weekends for their kids to learn about their culture.
Wow. Well, you mean back home, you mean?
Here, that let's say, maybe for example, the Indian community, for example, you know, they would have them Saturday cultural classes for their kids to learn about their culture. So even if they pack up their suitcase and they leave and come to St. Martin, they come with that culture bag right there. Okay, let me pull it out, pull out this, pull out that. This is what you're going to learn. Okay. So when people come to our country, they will only love what we embrace. Right. That's how I feel about it. And if we don't embrace ourselves,
I mean, in terms of embracing ourselves, but how, like, you know, someone who is, you can see right away that they're not from here and they're not born and raised. How embracing are we to let them into our culture?
Exactly.
Or to, like,
that's a good point.
Give them a cultural way of.
Yeah,
I mean,
should have
you gotta borrow my.
I mean,
life and mine.
I mean, mean, I feel like the more accepting we are of other people, because at the end of the day, we do make up. Our makeup here on St. Martin is, I mean, so diverse. So, you know, we also have to be accepting, but I think I fully agree with you. Once we acknowledge and accept and patronize what we have and are proud of it, and, you know, look to the neighbor when it's November 11th. Look to your neighbor when it's Emancipation Day. Look to your neighbor when it's Carnival, you know? And get everybody on board. And it does, at the end of the day, it's a spill-off effect, because it's not only us as you know, personal individuals, but institutions. You are here. You know, you have St. Martin people working for you. November 11th come around, do something with your staff, you know. We need flags, we need presents, we need...
It should be like, for example, the day after, let's do this next year. We can do it. We're not bosses per se in our own organizations to decide this. But for example, November 12th should have been a cultural day where everybody come in cultural wear, you know, something like that. That would be cool. That would then, you know, hey, it's cultural day today, you know.
And then the people who are not from here,
to do it, then they would be like, oh, this is beautiful, and they might want to wear it.
Yeah, I walked in, I got some flags for some staff, and I was walking from the parking lot to my office, and I guess this handful of tourists, they were like, oh, what is this? And I was like, oh, these are flags. And I was like, what are the flags for? I was like, oh, because it's St. Martin's Day. And they're like, oh, wow, congratulations. Because for them it's a big deal.
It's like they're July the 4th.
No.
I bought these. Hello.
I bought that.
That's a mistake there.
Like, go home with this and tell your friends.
I got it over there for like...
And there's like one shop, Flag World. Are you ever been in Flag World?
You mean next to the flower shop?
Yes, next to the flower shop.
What the name of the flower
my
shop
God. Like that place got all the flags in the world. Like, but that's a, you know.
All right, ladies. So I think we kind of really talk about, you know, culture. I think the cultural wear kind of fuel that conversation. But I just want to end off with, you know, what do you like about St. Martin? What do you love about St. Martin? Right? What do you love about St. Martin? For me, one thing, well, okay, based on my recent travel, I love our weather.
Good point.
I mean, I don't think I could do the cold anymore. I love where we are. I love that I can just come outside. I could wear flip-flops. I could wear my sandals, and I could just be comfortable. I don't need a jacket every time I'm leaving the house. I love my weather. I miss that, and that's probably why that's what the one points I'm gonna bring up now, because yeah. What about you, Anissa?
It's a very hard very hard question, because I love everything about St. Martin. I never thought after school I would have come back here. To tell you the truth, I thought I would always end up living abroad and working abroad, but I don't know. It's the weather, the culture, the lifestyle. You can go to the beach. It's very laid back, despite the traffic that does give people a lot of headaches. But I don't know. It's just the people. It's the lifestyle. I feel like you can't get a lifestyle anywhere else.
I feel so too, and I have really no regrets of moving back home.
Either.
Really,
Me either.
no regrets.
Really, not one?
Not one. Not one.
Okay. Sabrina, tell us.
I think basically how Sabrina already said it, and the other Sabrina's gonna say it. Comparing to my lifestyle, basically abroad, I do really love the vibe that St. Martin gives off. I feel very at home here. I think the people here are very friendly. I haven't been anywhere else where you get that vibe, you get that energetic vibe from the people. Like, they're alive here. They're not just like robots in the mesh of it all.
Yeah.
Another thing, I know the other Caribbean islands gonna come and fight me, but our beaches are some of the best beaches
in the world.
Fight me, other Caribbean islands.
I agree,
but
I got your back.
Fight everybody.
They have to fight everybody. I believe the same way. Like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I think.
So I love everybody's answer. I would, you know, that's definitely, because it's very difficult to answer a question like that. But for me, what I love about St. Martin is definitely a uniqueness about St. Martin, and I love our network. I first of all, I didn't even want to go to Holland to go to school. Okay, they basically had to like kick me off the island, and I couldn't wait to come back home. Okay, I was so depressed the whole time I was there. I probably didn't enjoy my college life the way I was supposed to, because home is just where the heart is for me completely. Yes. I always say if I have to give up on St. Martin and leave and go somewhere else, or you really know that something really happened, and that's why I had to leave.
I like what you say about network, because I feel like when you go abroad, then you realize how much you could relate to other people, because you've been in contact with other nationalities the whole time, that you know how to work with people, you know how to agree with people.
And to write off of that, we're not just like, I feel like in other places I'm a number, but here, you know, I'm an individual, and
you have access to people that in other countries you wouldn't be able to have. Like you could have, for example, not that it's something big, but let's say a minister or somebody that, you know, you could speak. I could literally look in my backyard and there's Mrs. Dr. Rhoda Arundel, Lasana Siku is, you know, they're over there. Our people are so, we can touch them, you know, and also the fact that there's such a melting pot of different cultures. My parents and grandparents and me a little bit, I can't speak as much languages as them, but they learn French, Patois, Spanish. They can speak just about, your parents can speak just about anything, and that is cultivated right here in St. Martin. I mean, where do I need to go? I need to go nowhere.
And I just want to point out something else. I mean, look how diverse we are with our different backgrounds. I mean, where else in the world can you find a 37 square mile island?
The world is in St. Martin.
No, but like, yes, the world is the same. 37 square mile island, you find every nationality possible, every looking food. Oh, we are the melting pot of cuisine. We can go on and on. That's to show you how much we love St. Martin. Come at us, other islands, because we the best island.
I mean,
on that note,
yes.
All right, on that note, guys, thanks for your input. I think we can come to one conclusion, is that we love St. Martin.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
That's just it. Simple.
Yes. So maybe next time we'll have a little more topics. Usually we have 3 or 4 topics, but it was fine. I mean, I love this discussion.
It's kind of like cultural St. Martin edition.
I know.
And we're feeling very festive in our wear.
I love
the feedback also. Like,
Sheila need to really set us up on some cultural wear. I want at least 3 outfits.
It's done.
I want 5, one for every work day.
And Sundays.
And Sundays. To lounge in.
A bathing suit. Yes, exactly. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you liked the discussion. Let us know what you think. Let us know what culture means for you. Let us know if you have a cultural wear.
So that, do you have a cultural wear?
Do you have a cultural wear in your outfit?
If not, get on it.
Yes. And comment, like, subscribe, and let us know what you think. See ya.